Practice in pads today just wrapped up a little bit ago, but I want to get into some observations that you've had from camp so far, and some guys who have really opened your eyes that you're kind of trying to figure out. Hey, I want to see more of this guy. So take us through what your thoughts have been so far with camp.
I, in person, I'll no matter how many times I see Miles Garrett in person, I will never not be in awe of some of the athletic feats he can do. I just, not that that's breaking news or anything. It's just like if you blink, it'll look like he teleports because he's all of a sudden on the quarterback, and you're like, that's not where you were. That should not be possible. But the entire defensive line, to me, just looks so fast and explosive. Use an early play from a padded practice today where the quarterback had to spin and get away from Miles Garrett on the outside, and sitting right there for the cleanup sack is Mason Graham. And this defensive line, if they can play up to the talent, it's clear that they're athletic, they're fast, they're aggressive. Like these defensive tackles with Mason Graham and Malik Collins they could really feast, because I think this edge group could force a lot of quarterbacks to step up, and those dudes are just going to be waiting. And that was just, that just kept popping to me on Saturday. And Isaiah McGuire looks good. Alex Wright looks healthy and good. He batted down a pass and was pretty explosive off the line as well. I thought Joe Tryon-Shoyinka looked pretty good. He looked bigger than I remember him being, but still is fast. Carson Schlesinger really stood out to me on Saturday because he kind of looks the part. They're putting him in there with the green dot, with him calling the defense, and he's at least doing a halfway decent job because they weren't lining up incorrectly. He was getting the calls out and communicating well with the coaches want, and his ability to cover ground. He's another player I thought looked bigger than I expected when I saw him in person. But more so than anything, outside of the defensive line was probably the best thing. But then that secondary, I also thought looked like they should be looking. Ronnie Hickman had a few really nice athletic plays that impressed me. Denzel Ward was Denzel Ward. There were some flashes from Newsome and Grant Delpit and Martin Emerson. But the biggest thing to me is the defense, as we expected, is more. It's much more talented and further along than the offense. But that there's a lot of players on that side of the ball that really impressed me. But I will give one other shout out to Dylan Sampson. You can't take much from those unpadded practice when it comes to run game and offensive line and running backs. But when he was getting the ball, he was very explosive, very quick, and very decisive. And so some really good things to build off of early on in camp.
So what are you paying attention to the next couple of days as they start the padded portion of practices?
The biggest thing is going to be for me is the offensive line, because that's in the run game in general, because that's, like I said, that's something you can't really accurately judge when they're not in pads, because the offensive line really is at a major disadvantage without being able to fully hit and block back. So you don't know what that's actually going to look like until they put pads on. So I want to see if that defensive line can continue to look really, really good like they had the first four practices. Can they continue to do that against an offensive line that, is expected to bounce back? And we're hoping to bounce back, and they're healthy. Tevin Jenkins is missing some time, but that's kind of a thing we knew about him coming over with the medicals from Chicago. But that's in a backup sense. But they're healthy. I want to see if this offensive line looks better than last year, and if this run game looks like it's going to be a good complement to the play action. And so that, because if this run game doesn't go, the offense is going to have a lot of struggles in my mind. So they've got to be able to establish that. So that's the main thing I'm going to focus on. And of course, I'm going to see if any wide receivers not named Jerry Jeudy step up. I know Deontay Johnson had a few nice grabs today, but it's very evident that it was Jerry Jeudy and a bunch of guys trying to figure things out. So I want to see if they can do a little bit better. And of course, I'll obviously be watching the quarterbacks. But the big difference, I think, is the battles in the trenches.